Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio, we're talking about the upcoming election and the ballot.
So you have to ask yourself as a voter, do I want to have my voice in saying where these years should be spent and dedicating them to the environment, or just letting the legislature spend them however they see fit?
I think most people don't understand how the money was spent previously.
This is why elections matter.
Where they think that that committee is replacing LCCMR. Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
It's just a lookout for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio. All right, we have more on how you should vote for the Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund coming up this week. And we're going to talk about waterfowl migration, fishing reports, and more. Welcome to the show. I'm Brett Amundsen. That's Dan Amundsen. What's up, Dan?
We are talking politics, but before you go and just turn the show off, if you hunt and fish in Minnesota, you should listen to this. Trust me, nobody hates talking politics more than me, but this is really important for all of us to know about.
Nobody wants to talk politics. Or be involved.
You kind of do.
Well, it's like because it's not that I like it. It's we have to. If we want to continue to do the things that we do, which is hunt and fish, enjoy the outdoors, be free Americans, we have to pay attention to politics. Just have to. So anyway. That's it.
You and your dad like talking politics.
My dad loves it. All right. So Mark Holsten is going to join us, the executive director of MN-FISH, coming up later in the show. He's going to help break down this process of what's going on with this yes or no vote and what a yes vote means, what a no vote means. And you have to vote. If you don't vote on it, it's counted as a no vote. So if you want to continue to see money funding the environment from lottery ticket sales, you have to vote yes on the ballot.
And hey, let me just add this. If you don't, you better not complain in a few years about lack of habitat, lack of pheasant numbers, lack of duck numbers, lack of deer numbers, lack of fishing, fish numbers. Because if you vote no, you're adamantly saying, hey, I want to take this money that's from the lottery, not a tax, and let's not put it towards hunting and fishing in the outdoors. So we'll get into more of it later.
Yeah, for sure.
Just wanted to throw that in there.
There's a lot of confusion around it, but it's an important fund, and it's not a tax. That, I think, is the best part about this fund. Anyway, we'll talk more about it in a little bit. Also, Joe Henry will give us a fishing report from Lake of the Woods, and they're catching some big fish up there. We'll just let you in a little secret right now.
Does he have a new title?
Joe is part of, he's a new board member at MN-FISH, by the way. This is kind of breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. MN-FISH has elected some new board members. I don't think this has been put out anywhere as of this recording anyway. This was breaking news for us. I hadn't seen this anywhere. So Mark Holsten is going to talk about 5 new board members, and it's 4 of them have been on this show. And we'll need to get the 5th
Maybe
one on,
that means we do a good job of getting good guests.
I hope so. We'll tell you who those people are coming up later in the show. And real quick, Dan, the waterfowl migration, I think, finally started to get kick-started here this week a little bit.
We'll find out. I guess it sounds like there's snow geese in North Dakota. There's specks in Louisiana already. But there's still a pile of ducks in northern Canada. I was talking to someone who lives kind of on the edge of the forest line, and he's still shooting a pile of ducks. So
we're
done in 25 days. Actually, by the time this comes out, it's going to be like 23 or something like that. I don't know. I'm bad at math.
The big push hasn't happened yet.
Not even close.
It's been kind of a weird year. We've had some mallards, although when we hunted Wednesday morning this week, we had mallards on Tuesday. They were not there on Wednesday, but we had a pile of green-winged teal, and we actually shot a blue-winged teal.
Yeah, normally we don't see them this late, so that's kind of cool. And a lot of people have thought that's way cool. And I think it's, I don't get super excited about shooting blue-winged teal, but that one had a little bit of a crescent. It was pretty close to actually being one to put on the wall, which is pretty rare in Minnesota. I should have uploaded a picture to share with you. So maybe I'll post it on my Instagram. So if you want to, or maybe I'll put it on Sporting Journal Radio Instagram or Fish Hunt Forever Instagram.
There you go. Pull my camera up.
Or you can put it on Facebook or Instagram.
There you go.
There it is.
It's probably the best blue-winged teal that I've ever shot. And I didn't even...
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's not, and it wasn't because you just don't see them at that crescent this time of year in Minnesota. Anyway, all right, we have more to get to, but first, Dan, we got to talk about who our sponsors this week on the show.
Huge thanks to Invergrove Toyota, the official truck sponsor of Fish Hunt Forever. Is Invergrove Toyota. When looking for your new rig, head to Invergrove. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip for this fall or an ice fishing trip at Lake of the Woods, MN.com. Onyx Hunt, can't hunt without it. See private land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the Onyx Hunt app today. Tasman Lake Lodge, catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at TasmanLake.com. Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Just about time to think ice fishing out there. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Prairie Sportsman, we just won an Emmy. New season's going to be coming out soon. You can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fish out of a snow bear this winter. Learn more at HaybaleHeights.com. And Guardian Eagle Resort. Go fish the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort next summer. You can fly direct from the Twin Cities. Learn more at guardianeagle.com.
All right, time for some headlines, ladies and gentlemen.
Headlines.
And they are brought to you by our friends at Invergrove Toyota, where we're going to save you some money. Get the Fish Hunt Forever deal right now, and you can get an $250 off the lowest advertised price and an additional $500 off for your trade-in. Just for you, our listeners, right now, go to invergrovetoyota.com/FHF. There's a form to fill it out, and you'll be able to save on your next Toyota. They got $2,000 customer cash on a new 2024 Tundra. I believe that is still going on. So you can save some money right now at invergrovetoyota.com/FHF. All right. If you are in southeastern or north central Minnesota or the South Metro area, there are some deer carcass movement restrictions in place. 14 deer permit areas. I'll let you look up the numbers. Now, hunters are not allowed to take whole deer carcasses outside the management zone until a not detected test result is received. And that includes fawns too. So if you're hunting in those areas, those 14 deer permit areas, again, look up the numbers in the DNR. I'll announce them and you just
look it up on your phone.
Yeah, look it up on your phone. All right. Father Hennepin State Park will reopen November 1st after being closed on September 3rd for replacement of the park's wastewater system. Park hours will be 8 to 10, and the park will reopen. While the park will reopen, the ranger station and campgrounds are closed for the season. They'll reopen in mid-April 2025. And there's some Bassmaster news, Dan.
Oh, yeah. So if you're a Bassmaster Elite listening to this, which you're probably not, but if you are...
We got a few that listen.
Do we?
Oh, yeah.
Do we know that for sure? But, well, let's think about this statistically. Odds are you're not. You don't have to pay an entry fee for the elite events this year. So they've done away with that. Kind of cool. They said they wanted to make it more along the likes of professional golf or professional tennis or other professional sports where you don't pay an entry fee to play. So sounds like things will stay the same for opens and everything else. But if you make it to that elite level, you're done paying entry fees. So
we've had a bunch of elites on this show. Of course,
I know we've had
love us.
Well,
we're number one with Bass Elites.
Statistically speaking, with 30 radio stations across the Midwest, the podcast and everywhere you get your favorite podcast, YouTube video podcast, Spotify video podcast.
I got your point. All right.
Statistically speaking,
to us.
I'm not saying that.
They hate us.
Good grief.
Hey, there's a mountain lion spotted in northern Minnesota, it sounds like.
Yeah, the Voyager Wolf Project caught one on their trail cam. I think if it's an election conspiracy, they're releasing weird things to get things out about the DNR the week before the election. But we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. I would love to see a fight between a mountain lion and a wolf or a pack of wolves, because mountain lions are tough critters. How about mountain lion versus moose?
Ooh.
I think mountain lion wins.
Yeah.
We should,
calf.
You know what?
Calf for sure.
You know what? Did you ever see, Mike Leach? Remember him?
I know, yeah.
Football coach?
Yeah.
Did you ever see the press conference when somebody asked him about, I think it was all the Pac-12 mascots who would win?
I did not.
Well, look that up on your phone when you're done. But I wish Mike Leach was around to ask him all sorts of questions about who would win in animal fights.
That's a cool story.
Well, you got to know the video, and I'm sure somebody's laughing right now in their car. Statistically speaking, there's at least one person laughing at this joke.
Hey, Devil's Lake is a world-class cast and blast destination. Check out Devil's Lake, North Dakota, where the walleye bite remains strong and the migration is on. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Visit devilslakend.com to learn more and plan your next trip. Hey, by the way, Dan, you missed out, but I went to the cities, checked out the new Sitka store.
Yeah, but I still got a new hat.
You got the new hat. This is some store exclusive stuff. I got the blue wing teal shirt.
Fittingly, that's you know why you shot that teal? Because you're wearing the shirt.
That's right. And you can only get that at the store location in Maple Grove, probably Mall of America too. So the 2 Minnesota stores have some exclusive stuff. You can see pictures of the Maple Grove location right now. I wrote up a blog about it at fishhuntforever.com. You can also see about our trip to Regina there too, and see some pictures and videos of our trip to Saskatchewan while you're up there.
Go Rough Riders.
And if you go to the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel, you can see our trip to Guardian Eagle Resort in Ontario. They have 75,000 acres of private water. You can fly directly from Minneapolis and be at their concrete runway in 2 hours. Learn more at guardianeagle.com. All right, a lot more to come here on this show. We're pretty excited about having Mark Holsten on to discuss this Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund vote. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention about it. If the constitutional amendment passes, if the yes votes win, the Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund would not be able to be used for projects that pay for costs related to the construction, repair, improvement, or operation of any facility that processes wastewater, but it may be used for research related to wastewater. That's been a big thing in the last few years about it. There would also, there's a couple things that you probably don't care about. I'm just kind of going through some of this. We're going to break down what yes and no votes mean.
Yeah, you could argue that wastewater thing, that should be what property taxes are used for.
Well, there's
these
that.
Funds.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's kind of what people have been saying about that one.
For sure. So, and don't forget, hey, we got a contest right now. We're giving away a Fish Hunt Forever hoodie at sportingjournalradio.com. All you have to do is go to the page on sportingjournalradio.com, click the link, put your email in, and then go to our Instagram and follow us on Instagram, and you'll be entered to win a Fish Hunt Forever hoodie. So go check that out. And don't forget one more sponsor for you, TazinLake.com, for world record lake trout in pike over 50 inches in northwest Saskatchewan. Watch for us at sports shows. We're going to be at some in the Twin Cities coming up this winter. So watch for us. I'll probably be there, the Tazin Lake Lodge booth, or learn more right now at tazinlake.com. Mark Holsten from MN-FISH, former DNR Commissioner, former legislator. He's going to break down this vote coming up on the election ballot when we come back.
No matter how cold, no matter how much snow there is, the perch don't stand a chance.
Fish legendary Devil's Lake for their famous jumbo perch and walleye in the warm comfort of a snow bear at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fishing for perch requires mobility, and you can't get more mobile than a fish house with tracks. The snow bear fleet is on the ice every day at Haybale Heights, and you could be too. Every winter requires a trip to Devil's Lake, and there's no better way to do it than in a snow bear at Haybale Heights. Visit haybaleheights.com to book your trip today. All right, this is Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in on the radio network by demand, or maybe watching this on YouTube or Spotify. Thank you. We have got some more information, we should say, about the upcoming vote on the Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund. And to help us kind of wade through some of the confusion, we're bringing Mark Holsten, Executive Director of MN-FISH, on with us right now. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, because it's been a challenge, like even trying to get LCCMR to talk about this. Like they're like, well, there's some politics involved. We try to stay out of the politics of it, which I understand. They did finally send me some answers to some questions, and but even then there's still confusion. And when you and I were talking a little bit before we came on the air, you said that some of this ends up being speculation about what might happen.
Well, that's what, depending upon what people are saying about the specifics, a lot of it is going to be about speculation. But we can get into those details as we talk about it.
Yeah, let's break it down a little bit. And I want to start with what because MN-FISH recently put out a message about this. So just to catch anybody up that doesn't know what we're talking about, there's a yes or no vote coming up on the ballot. A lot of people have already voted. There's been just wide-ranging opinions on social media about this. A lot of people are urging vote no. A lot of people saying no, vote, you should vote yes. Ducks Unlimited put out a yes message. And LCCMR has been great. And a lot of people, I think, are worried that LCCMR is going away and this new committee is going to take over controlling these funds. And I mean, and honestly, I didn't even know about this new committee and this new 1.5% until all of this. Like we were in Saskatchewan, and Dan's reading Facebook messages, and he's like, what are people talking about? I'm like, I have no idea. Like this, I feel like I feel like this got snuck in a little bit, Mark, and maybe it's just for us that live on the outside of the bubble a little bit. Maybe it's more surprising for us, but I feel like it got snuck in. But let's just start at the beginning. And what is MN-FISH's stance on this vote? Then we can talk a little bit more about it.
Well, to the history that you just kind of laid out, when I went and looked at the question, and the legislature changed the question from what had been in place for 36 years. Yeah. And I think in some part they were trying to clarify things. Some part of it was about trying to focus people's attention more on water. I can't speak to what their thought process was, but you just took 36 years of history and you changed it with a new question, but ultimately it says the same thing, in my opinion. To your point about the added language, which was statutorily added, we didn't see that or talk about that much either. But from MN-FISH's perspective, we brought it before the board. We shared with the board what the question, some of the history, and ultimately, after that discussion, the board said, "Yeah, we should continue Well, let me back up. Like a lot of people, they have a misunderstanding or perception of what the question does or does not do. The Environmental Trust Fund, regardless, stays in place. So the question is really, do you want the lottery revenues that have continually been dedicated to the Environmental Trust Fund to continue to flow into the trust fund, thus growing the trust fund larger than it is today? So that's ultimately what the question is. And the board, when we talked through those dynamics about where those lottery dollars, where they've gone for 36 years and where they should go for the next set of years forward based upon the question, they ultimately came down to the question, it's better to know where those dollars are, and how those dollars are going into environmental projects than not. And that's where they came down, to support the question.
So I think a yes vote then, to summarize, essentially just continues LCCMR and ENRTF as it's been.
A yes question, or a yes vote, continues the revenues, which is 40% of the revenues from the lottery, which equals about 7 cents for every dollar spent on the lottery, going into a constitutionally protected trust fund that is managed by the state, and then a percentage of revenue from the trust is then utilized by the LCCMR for environmental projects.
And I think that's important because a lot of people are worried that if there isn't the LCCMR, if we don't have some citizens as part of that decision-making process, then all of a sudden you have legislators with free money to, do what they want with. Of course, you'd probably still have some proposal processes in there, and it's supposed to go to the environment, but having the citizens as part of LCCMR helps with some of that oversight.
Absolutely. And we have the same. I'm a council member on the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council. Now, that is the council that oversees the sales tax revenue, also a constitutionally dedicated activity. It's structured a little different, but it's largely citizen-based with some legislators on the board. The LCCMR follows a similar process. There's a few more legislators, but there are citizens involved, giving the council some broader perspective and not just an internal legislative slush fund.
So I think what's getting confusing for people is that the new constitutional amendment, as currently written, would also add 1.5% to be available for a grant program overseen by the DNR The legislature would determine how much of the 1.5% available to appropriate to the DNR each year. And then the DNR would make decisions on how to select and award grants in consultation with a new advisory council made up of minorities. There will be a number of minorities from different backgrounds that would be a part of that. And I think that is confusing people to the point where they think that committee is replacing LCCMR.
Right. I totally get it. It is very confusing, and it takes time to walk it through the system, walk it through the process. But you're correct. So what the legislature did was, we've got the trust fund, which is almost $1 billion today. And every year they pull out 5.5% of the revenues. That's what we did for 36 years. So the legislature added an additional 1.5%.
Yeah.
And utilizes that 1.5%. So that takes it from 5.5 to 7 of the revenue from the corpus. They take that 1.5% and they give it to the DNR directly for a grants program. That grants program still has to follow the constitutionality. It still has to be utilized for natural resource conservation, environmental projects. So that they're going to have to generate or create a grants program with that criteria in place, and then create this council that will help inform or advise the commissioner on how those dollars, what the criteria should be for the council or for the grants program, and how those dollars should be allocated. And at the end of the day, I just did some rough math. So trust me, rough math. I kind of calculated it out to be around $1.2 to $1.5 million a year.
So we're not talking about a lot of money, and I understand that. And I don't think everybody realizes that. I think most people don't understand how the money was spent previously. So I think a lot of people were just confused about this whole process in general, and I think they feel like there's a lot more money, and now it's going to go to redesigning the state flag, is what I kept hearing. It's the same committee that redesigned the state flag, and that was terrible.
Or land buybacks or something.
Yeah,
that concern too.
I guess two things. Like, when you look at it overall, I don't see anything there that's going to make me want to say you need to vote no on this. It sounds like even that new 1.5% is going to go to something worthwhile for the environment. It's great. Fantastic. Let's do it. 7% instead of 5.5% now going to the environment, Minnesota. Let's go. With 5.5% of that still being determined by LCCMR the way it's been forever since this started. Great. And full disclosure, which I've said all the time, our show, Prairie Sportsman, is funded by LCCMR. So yes, we are obviously in favor of this passing because we'd like to continue our show.
But it's bigger than that. I've been telling people it's way bigger than that. The TV show is such a small part of it. Like, put the TV show aside, every hunter and angler should be scared when you start talking about directing money away from this stuff. In my opinion, it's not just because of the TV show and what we do.
Yeah, I just like to make sure people are aware of that.
For sure.
So they don't think that I'm just saying we need this because of our show. But and we have, like, we've done a lot of stories on a lot of LCCMR funded projects, and we have a page at prairiesportsman.org that has a number of the segments that we've filmed that deal directly to show you the work that LCCMR has done. In fact, I think we have one, Thanks a Billion. I think we have one special that we put together called Thanks a Billion from Prairie Sportsman that highlights the work that LCCMR has done. So we'll have to get that shared and put out there. So, all right, Mark Holsten is our guest. This is, we're talking a lot longer than I thought we would on this. I'm not surprised, but we got to take a quick break. It's an important topic. Okay. So we're going to continue to break down this and why you should vote yes on the upcoming ballot for the Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund. More with Mark when we come back.
852 million acres of public land, 147 million private properties,
all in the palm of your hand. The #1 hunting GPS app just got better. With hundreds of custom map layers, 3D and topographic maps, you can easily scout on the road or at home before you go. And now you can get important weather details, CWD detection, and even know what crops have been planted where. Get the most trusted hunting GPS app ever made. OnX. Know where you stand.
with Onyx.
We're back on Sporting Journal Radio. Mark Holsten from MN-FISH is our guest. We're talking about the upcoming election and the ballot where you can vote yes to continue the Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund, or if you vote no, we want to tell you what's going to happen because there's a lot of talk about it on social media right now. A lot of people are misinformed about a yes or no vote and what it means. And prior to the break, we discussed that a yes vote continues funding for the environment the way it's been, the way we believe it should continue. Now, Mark, if people vote no, like this money, which is a lot of money, I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars every year that is spent specifically on environmental projects in Minnesota. This money goes, essentially will end up in the general fund, won't it?
Well, that's exactly right. So and this is why the MN-FISH board supports the amendment, is that keeping those revenues from the lottery going into the trust fund. If we vote no, those dollars will go directly into the general fund and then be utilized by the legislature for whatever they want to. And so you have to ask yourself as a voter, do I want to have my voice in saying where these should be spent and dedicating them to the environment, or just letting the legislature spend them however they see fit? And our perspective was those dollars will just disappear and will never come back to the environment in any way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it took a giant surplus and then a lot of work by your organization to get some money spent on the outdoors in Minnesota here. What was that, last year? I mean, that took
spring of 2020.
That took a lot of teeth pulling to get that work done. And here we have a fund set up for this already that we may lose if people vote. Not only if they vote no, or if they don't vote at all. Like if somebody looks at the ballot and says clean, what is the environment, clean? I can't remember. What is it? How does the question read again, Dan?
I'll pull it up here.
Do you have that? But if
shall the Minnesota Constitution be amended to protect drinking water sources and water quality of lakes, rivers, and streams, conserve wildlife habitat, natural areas, improve air quality, and expand access to parks and trails by extending the transfer of proceeds from the state-operated lottery to the Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund and dedicate the proceeds for these purposes? Yes or no?
So somebody reading that should say, this looks like a good, even if they don't understand it, they should say, this looks like a pretty good thing. I like the environment. Minnesota's got a lot of water. I like clean drinking water. I think this is great. Should vote yes. But if they don't understand it and don't vote at all, that counts as a no vote.
Exactly. So in essence, Minnesota has set up not a simple majority for constitutional amendments, but a supermajority. Now, some states have a supermajority, but let's not get lost in the details. If there are three choices, vote yes, vote no, or don't vote on the amendment. Two are counted as a no. So if you don't vote, it is considered a no vote. So the threshold is much higher than the actual votes counted.
And if this does pass, then how many is it another 25 years? Is that when this would come up again?
I think they put I think they put a 25-year timeline on it.
I think that's right. Somewhere in here it should say. I remember seeing 2050 would be the next time it would be brought up.
Now, so here's my problem with this whole situation, because I know people think this is more of a left side of the aisle issue, and all the lefties want this, but the Republicans, the guys on the right, have been trying to pull money out of there for different things, wastewater treatment plants and things like that. So people are fighting over this money. So I'm sure the legislature, honestly, is probably salivating at the opportunity to dig into this money and just have it go into the general fund. So what worries me is having this additional 1.5% thrown in there makes me mad, because it threatens the continuation of LCCMR in this trust fund, this Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund. Why? And maybe this is pure speculation, of course, but why do you think? I mean, it almost seems like a poison pill to some extent. Like they threw it in knowing some people get mad about this. And I don't know if there's who's putting out some misinformation about it or trying to get people all riled up about it, saying, vote no, vote no. Like, to me, it seems like there's this whole other like effort to try to get this money into the general fund. And maybe I'm just have this severe distrust of politicians in general, which is something I've been known to have. So I always feel like there's ulterior motives out there. So I'm just mad about this whole situation that we're even talking about this, right? Like, let's just continue this amazing, amazing funding source for the environment. And, you know, and by the sounds of it, you know, the additional 1.5% is going to go to good work too, but it doesn't seem like that to a lot of people.
Well, let me start with this. This is why elections matter. And this is why it's important to know who you are voting for and where they stand on these issues. And not just there, it doesn't end at the ballot, because you then have to take your passion and your interest and educate your legislator about those details. And so the details matter. There's no question about that. The speculation that's now been created because of this new commission or new committee and the 1.5 and what it's going to do or not do, you know, in the end, when you drill down, it's still going to be spent on natural resource conservation, environmental projects.
Right.
It's going to be done in a little bit different fashion. But it's that, what is it? Is that speculation of knowing or not knowing? That's what causes people fear.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that they just snuck it in on purpose? I mean, why wasn't there more news about this, more information about this, so that we weren't just surprised all of a sudden when the ballot came out?
I can't give you a reasonable explanation. I wasn't there for it. I've spent 10 years in the legislature myself as an elected representative. I saw a lot of things happen. I saw a lot of things happen by accident. I saw a lot of things happen that were on purpose. I can't speak to how it happened, why it happened, but what I can say is elections matter.
Yeah, well,
and it's important to have your voice there.
You know, it's funny, and for the record, I do trust you, Mark. So I'm
no longer there, so I got my trust back.
You know, it's funny, and Dan and I have said this a lot. And Dan got the quote from our governor, I think at the roundtable last year or 2 years.
Either that or at the MN-FISH Summit, one of the two.
Might have been at the MN-FISH Summit. I can't remember, but he said, you know, you may not care about politics, but politics care about you, which I think is the best thing he's ever said between you and me. But He's 100% correct. And particularly for those of us that live in the outdoor space, man, we don't want to deal with politics. I mean, we barely like turning on the news half the time. You know, we just want to go out and be in the woods or, you know, be on a lake somewhere in a boat. You don't want to have to deal with all that stuff, but you have to. You have to stay informed. You have to stay educated on the issues that matter to you. And as much as I don't like, and half the time I get blown off by the legislators when I try to contact them about different things, but some of them have been good about getting back to me. But you have to bend their ear on some of these things that you care about. You have to let them know about it. But it's not an easy or fun process all the time, is it, Mark?
It is not. And honestly, that's why MN-FISH was created. It was created out of that necessity of understanding the legislature for the last 15 odd years had fundamentally ignored fishing and the elements that are important within the state to make fishing work or improve it. So our board, a group of anglers, got together and said, we need to bring that voice up there because there isn't one.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If you're not asking, the legislature isn't giving.
Yeah.
So
that's 100% correct, and that's why I believe in MN-FISH. I'm a life member. I appreciate the work that you do for it. Before we run out of time here, I want to talk about MN-FISH a little bit because you just elected some new people to the board. It sounds like.
We did. We just had we had some board vacancies. We had a couple board members looking to do some other things, and they were great in terms of helping guide and develop MN-FISH as we continue to transition as an organization. We're constantly transitioning and trying to figure out our way how to bring the voice of anglers best to the legislature and best to influence the DNR in making what's important to us happen. But we just brought in Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
So he'll be a great asset. We brought Jeremy Smith from Linda Media, another great asset. We're looking forward to utilizing him. We brought a Dr. Kaio Zhang, who is a Southeast Asian Hmong bass angler. He's a chiropractor, but he's heavy involved in bass angling. We're really excited about being able to bring a Southeast Asian perspective into the board and learn from him and help, bridge that gap with that community and learn more about what their needs and interests are so we can work on that. Ray Gildow from
nice.
From the Brainerd area, legendary angler, Hall of Fame angler. And so we're really excited on that one. And then Jason Barr from Tuts,
nice.
Lake of the Woods, up at Mille Lacs. So those are 5 powerful people that are going to provide a new set of eyes, new set of opinions to an already robust board, and help us transition to be even more of a powerful voice.
Those are great names, and I just want to say I saw Ray. His dog passed away. Just here, I see posted today, or the other day, earlier this week. So I'm sorry to hear about that, Ray. But and Joe's going to be on after you here on this show, so we'll talk to Joe about it. And of course, Jeremy is great with Lindner's and Jason and all of those guys, and working with the Hmong community because they're heavily involved in the angling world in Minnesota.
And hunting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, fishing and hunting, of course.
Right.
So that's great. Those are some great additions to the MN-FISH board. I look forward to. You guys continued great work that you guys do there at MN-FISH. And Mark, really appreciate you coming on and talking politics with us. We were sitting here, we were trying to get some of the politicians, and they were like, we don't really want to do it. And LCCMR didn't want to do it. And Dan's like, Mark. It's like, oh yeah, Mark would be great for this.
I just try to dial it back to the essence of what it really is or what it isn't.
Right. See, you're a popular guy. I get it.
I thought I turned my sound off. But,
that's all right.
My ringer off. But
that's all right.
So anyway, hey, for MN-FISH, before I go, real quick to your listeners out there, look for the world's greatest ice fishing auction. We've got an auction coming up here. We've got some fabulous items, ice fishing destinations, guide trips, and ice fishing products. So. People should have a great opportunity to get a hold of some great product. Now we just need some ice.
Yeah. Let's just
after the deer season.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's just scale her back there just a second. There's some fall fishing yet too. All right, Mark Holsten, Executive Director of MN-FISH. Thanks for the time today on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
All right, we're back on Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in wherever you're getting this or watching this on YouTube or Spotify. Thank you very much. I'm Brett Amundsen with Dan Amundsen, and now then one of the newest board members at MN-FISH, Joe Henry, joins us, also from Lake of the Woods Tourism, of course. Joe, how you doing?
Hey, Brett, I'm doing good.
I want to talk about Lake of the Woods, but you thought MN-FISH should be a good thing to be a part of, didn't you?
I've already been part of it. I joined MN-FISH as a lifetime member on my own. The mission for MN-FISH is to basically create a more quality sport fishing opportunity in the state of Minnesota. And being a longtime, resident of Minnesota. When I grew up in Minnesota, Brett, and I can remember when I was younger, all I could think about was fishing. Every paper I did in grade school, it was about fishing. Every drawing, I the night before the Minnesota fishing opener, I couldn't sleep. When I was old enough to fish on my own with a small motorboat in our family fishing contest on opening day, I would fish from 12:01 a.m. all the way through to 5 p.m. And oftentimes I won that tournament. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, out of fairness. But the point of it is that fishing's always been a passion. So my age, being involved in the tourism industry and the fishing industry, what a great organization. And this is a group that's been instrumental in getting and directing millions of dollars. I think $30 million one-time appropriation from the state of Minnesota to the DNR for many of the different things that MN-FISH is pushing. And without MN-FISH's efforts, both lobbying efforts and also communication efforts, that never would have been done. So now that money, I don't know if listeners really realize this, but the majority of walleyes that are caught in the state of Minnesota are stocked walleyes. Yeah, the Lake of the Woods and Mille Lacs and Winnie and Vermilion, and those are the natural reproducing, walleye lakes. And there's a lot more that are too. But the majority of walleyes in our smaller lakes are stocked. And without that stocking program, we just don't have the quality sport fishing that we enjoy now. So, when you take a look at some of these different hatcheries, they had the Governor Wallace tour, some hatcheries in Minnesota, and one of the hatcheries he toured, he said, "Man, I couldn't believe it. This thing was falling apart." So we have some of our brightest biological minds in the DNR, working in these hatcheries, and it's fallen apart. Some of the media came with on a visit didn't even feel comfortable going in the basement. It was almost claustrophobic. There were steps where the cement was crumbling, and you can see that governors before us had kicked the can down the road and not put anything towards these hatcheries. They were not improved at all, and there's a lot of technology that's come about over the last few decades. So Governor Walz, to his credit, he said, gosh, when I learned that the sport fishing industry in Minnesota generates more to our economy in the state of Minnesota than the Mayo Clinic does, that got my attention. And it's such an integral part that, we have this money available. It's one-time appropriation. Let's get some of this stuff done while we can. So that money went towards, again, fish hatcheries, improving boat ramps, creating boat ramps, shore fishing opportunities, getting kids and people that haven't had the opportunity to go fishing into fishing. A lot of good things. And that was possible because of MN-FISH. Yeah. MN-FISH was very instrumental recently in working on the whole bait issue in Minnesota. Just recently, we had a bait shortage. And MN-FISH was instrumental in pulling together the DNR to communicate with the different bait dealers around the state. And there hadn't been much communication there. And it made it better, made it possible to take a look at importing bait in a safe manner. Into Minnesota, if we do have a dry spell with our minnow ponds and things like that. And I can go on and on, but I guess the point there is it's watching out and promoting a quality sport fishing opportunity for everybody in the state of Minnesota. Who wouldn't want to be part of that? Yeah,
and as we talked with Mark Holsten before you came on, we kind of talked about how guys like us that like to live in the outdoors, we don't generally like to get involved with politics, but you have to. And even those of us that do it probably don't do it as well as we should to actually get things done. So having a group that knows how to work the politicians, how to work to get into the meetings with the politicians, how to work politics, how to get to do the lobbying, having a lobbyist with MN-FISH, I think is absolutely huge because they can go in and have those conversations that you and I or Dan want to have with these legislators to make sure that our interests are being taken care of by our elected officials. So you have to have lobbyist groups and advocacy groups like MN-FISH. So we go on and on about that, but Joe, I want to talk about Lake of the Woods. MN-FISH was just a little sidetracked there since we had Mark on and now that you're part of the board. But Lake of the Woods is obviously people are getting geared up for early ice, and obviously people are still up there fishing right now, but it's kind of a transition time for the resorts, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the bite right now is so good. It is so good. People are jigging across. People are jigging across that South Shore, and there's schools and schools of walleyes all over the darn place. They're jigging up walleyes, getting limits of walleyes, blah blah blah, right? And the weather's been actually really nice for fall weather this time of year. Very nice weather, but they're doing it on the lake. There's more and more fish going into the river. They're doing it up at the angle. I mean, that's still on. So I don't want to discourage people from coming up fall fishing with your own boat. Charter boats, as a rule, have been pulled. Yeah. Most of the resorts yank the charter boats at end of October, just because we can get some freezing weather and the number of trips drop and et cetera, et cetera. So most of the charter boats are out, but boy, for people bringing up their own boats, there is still some great opportunities well in November. I just wrote an article for our newsletter at Lake of the Woods Tourism, and it talked about some of the biggest walleyes of the year oftentimes coming during the deer hunting season, when many of us, me included, are sitting in a tree stand gun hunting in Minnesota for the deer hunting season, which is a short season too, so you can only do so much. But with that being said, there's fishing going on until ice up yet, and it's really good right now, really good. With that being said, a lot of the resorts are gearing up now towards ice fishing. They're working on bombardiers. If they have bombardiers or track rigs, they're working on their people haulers for light ice. That would be like a Geo Tracker or a Suzuki Samurai combined with, an enclosed trailer with a heater that's light ice. Those trailers have shocks in them. They got a propane heater and with a tank mounted to the front tongue, and that keeps you comfortable heading out on that early ice. But they then can not only keep you comfortable, they can control where you're traveling. So, people don't get tempted to get away from the fish houses and go where there's no ice, right? Yeah. Unknowingly. But so it's twofold. But the point of the matter is all that stuff has to get ready. I saw that one of the resorts, in this case it was Ballard's, is doing a real big remodel in their bar and restaurant area. I saw that. And they're doing that. You saw that? Yeah. And a lot of resorts, this is a time to do some of that stuff. It's the only time they can do it, right? I mean, it's a good problem to have, Joe, but fishing is so good year round. You have to have some time to work on gear and do some maintenance. Well, the other thing, some of these folks, they say that when you own a resort, it's like you own a dairy farm because you are on all the time. And some of these folks need a mental break too, just a chance to take a breath. And they know the winter season's coming, and that's a very robust season. So some of them will travel south for a while. Some of them go hunting. Some of them go west. Some of them just stick around and deer hunt with their families. Whatever they do, they need this mental break and a physical break. And but there's a lot of work to get done. I mean, you talk to a lot of these folks, you're like, well, you get a chance to take your breath. What do you mean, catch my breath? You should see my list right now before winter starts. I'm behind. A fishing lodge. You'll be fishing all the time. Yeah. I think that I mentioned to you offline, I just attended I'm on the board of directors for Hospitality Minnesota, and talking to some of these resorters and different people, most of them love being in the hospitality industry, whether it's restaurants or resorts or hotels or catering or whatever the case might be. But it's very hard work, but it's very rewarding work. A lot of these people, they truly enjoy serving other people, making memories, getting to know customers that come back year after year after year. I mean, there's a lot of human satisfaction to that. That being your career. At the same time, owning a business like that, it's your business. This is yours. You can put your stamp and your stamp approval on it. You can put your personality into it and make it however you want, right? So there are some great things to owning a resort and being in the hospitality industry, but it's a hard working business. If you think you're going to buy a resort because you want to go fishing, good luck on that one. Yeah. Well, it is a lot of hard work, and they need some vacation time, and it seems like this is when it is. And I know a lot of those guys probably take vacation by climbing into a deer stand, and doing some deer. Well, some of those people that are doing remodeling projects, and I don't want to list any names because we have 60 lodging facilities, but I know I saw one of them with a huge elk that he had already shot out west, and now the remodeling's happening. So they plan their calendars pretty good.
Got to make room for the new mount in the bar.
Yeah, that's about it, right?
Well, we should mention, Joe, we just have about a minute left here, but we should mention that all this work is so that. I mean, obviously, all the hardcore anglers go to Lake of the Woods because they know they can catch a bunch of fish there. But the guys that aren't, or the people that want a family vacation or a work trip or something like that, they basically do this so that they can take the non everyday angler out and show them a good time.
Well, here's the thing. You know what? We do have a lot of hardcore anglers coming up because they know that we're the walleye capital and a lot of fish to be caught, and it's consistent, and there's big ones, right? With that being said, there's a lot of people that would love to get some outdoor recreation in the winter. They'd love to go ice fishing. They'd love to bring their families. There's groups of girls, kids, whatever. The kicker is they don't have the know-how. They don't have the equipment. Lake of the Woods is big ice, and it's intimidating. When you go with a full-service resort, literally just find, as long as you can follow your GPS map to get to the resort, the rest is taken care of. The lodging, the fishing accommodations, the fish house will be on fish. It's heated. They're either going to have ice transportation or give you directions on an ice road once the ice is thick enough to drive your own vehicle so you can get out there. I mean, everything is provided for you, and it just makes life easy, but it also enables people who are not hardcore anglers to enjoy winter in Minnesota, enjoy the great outdoors, and enjoy some really, really good ice fishing on the Walleye Capital. And that's what it's all about, man. There's a lot of people now that since they've gone ice fishing, they realize this is as much social as it is fishing, and they enjoy ice fishing.
Yeah, especially ice fishing. Yeah, for sure. All right, Joe, well, if people want to book a trip to Lake of the Woods, what should they do?
Hey, check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Makaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.